If you are a personal injury attorney, one of the most important things you can do is advertise online. I know you've seen the billboards, the TV spots, and all of that jazz, but honestly, in today's day and age, it just does not work the same way that it used to. So, today we're going to be talking about meta ads and specifically the creative. If you've been under a rock and you haven't been advertising on Meta in the last few years, you might not know that Meta recently updated their algorithm to be all AI based. I know that's a buzzword, everybody talks about it, but what does it mean in this context? It means that a lot of the rules have changed, and we're going to be covering exactly what those are and specifically why creative is so important. So let me go ahead and make myself a little bit smaller here. So we're going to be talking about good creative versus bad creative and how it plays into your advertising. So it used to be all manual targeting. So you would be targeting things like law, certain zip codes, age ranges, incomes. It's obsolete. It doesn't work anymore. Creative is now the targeting, specifically the videos and the images that you show people on Facebook and Instagram. So, whenever you say hurt in a car accident, Meta's AI analyzes this. They scan the text, the image, and the video to understand who they should be delivering this to. So, what you end up with is really broad targeting a specific state or a really broad area with no interests, no specific attributes of the person, and you let the creative do the talking. And that's what's going to get you a lower cost and higher intent people. So, the four elements of every single ad that you should have is the hook, the visual, the body copy, and the call to action. The hook is the first thing that people see. It's going to be the thing that stops people from scrolling. They see all these things on their timeline and on their all their friends posting things, and when they see your ad, they need to stop in their tracks. So that's one of the biggest components here. The second thing is going to be the visual. This is what reinforces the message emotionally. Now, a common mistake with both of these is that they end up being too generic. They're stock photos or they're more focused on the law firm. Nobody really cares about that. The third thing is going to be the body copy. So you have the image itself. What does it say underneath that image in the caption? And then the call to action. This basically tells the person who's seeing the ad what the next step is. So if it's too vague or too pushy, it's not good. So we're going to give you some examples of these. A bad hook. This is you losing them in the first 2 seconds. Opens with the law firm's name. Nobody cares about who you are. They don't know anything about you. Award winning. I see this all the time. It's completely meaningless. Nobody cares. Again, every competitor claims this. There's zero differentiation. So we have to drive some level of differentiation here. The third thing is it's about you, talking about the law firm, your guys' accolades, the cases that you've won, etc., and not about them. So since 1998, it doesn't solve their pain point. It doesn't ring true with them. And then the fourth thing is that there's no emotional trigger. Nothing makes them stop the scroll. So a good hook is pretty much the exact opposite of this. It makes them feel seen. So we are stopping the scroll by addressing their reality immediately. You have to put yourself in their shoes and think, okay, they were just in an accident. They're obviously not super excited about that. So what you do is you make it about them, not about you. So this opens with the viewer's situation. Were you hurt in a car accident? If they resonate with it, then great, they're going to resonate with it. And if they weren't in a car accident, then they're not going to care. Not about the firm's name or history. The second thing here is that you need to create immediate curiosity. So before you talk to the insurance company, because a lot of people think that's the best thing to do, obviously we know that that might not be the case. This implies insider knowledge that they need to know right now. Another really big thing with this is whenever you have the right hook and you call out, were you hurt in a car accident? This signals to Meta's AI on Facebook and Instagram that specific keywords like car accident, it helps their algorithm find the people who are actually matching that intent. The last thing here is low friction. So read this is a much smaller ask than call for a free consultation right out of the gate. Now, one of the things that I just see all the time, so I want to address it, is to not do stock photos. This just kills trust immediately, especially in the world of AI. You can make some really good images without using stock photos. So it just feels inauthentic. Viewers can spot this immediately. They know what a stock photo looks like. And also it makes it feel like it's just, run of the mill. Nobody really cares. Now, some good visuals here are going to be real people, real emotion. Obviously, you can use AI for this nowadays. We use AI all the time. But the point here is that you want to drive authenticity. You want to build trust as quickly as possible. One of the best things that you could do is a talking head video. They're having just a phone pulled out, somebody holding the camera like this and talking to them like a real person in their situation is very, very relatable. And what we want to do with any of these ads that we're making is make it feel like it's not an ad. If they feel like it's an ad in the first 2 to 3 seconds, we're all kind of trained to just scroll right past that. But if we could grab their attention for long enough and make it not feel like an ad, then we have a chance for them to hear us out and actually to capture their attention. So here's an example of something that has worked really well for us. It's just really good visuals. We call this the whiteboard strategy. So ugly ads often outperform really polished ones. So this ad isn't beautiful. You're looking at this and thinking, does this really work? It does for us. And so we call this the 5 reasons why structure. And so 5 reasons to hire an attorney after a car accident. And then it goes into the different reasons that they should do it. Obviously, there's a bunch of different reasons. You could name 30 or 40, but we like to try to keep this as condensed as possible. And the point here is that it looks like content. It looks like something that somebody posted and not an ad. It also has really high readability. It's only 5 reasons. It's not a ton. And it's disarming. Now, bad copy within the context here is you talking about yourself. So starting to say our firm, this is just zero empathy, has recovered 50 million, generic claim. Everybody could say that. You know, getting into legal jargon or having a weak call to action. These are all things that you want to avoid. It's the me approach. We don't want to do that. Now, some good copy here is empathy first. So after a serious car accident, everything feels overwhelming. Naming the pain, calling it out specifically, and not only signaling to them that you are, in this space, but also signaling to Meta and their algorithm that you are looking for people that were in an accident. Most people don't realize what their claim could actually be worth. Insider knowledge. Okay, maybe they should consider this. Insurance companies do, and they're counting on you not knowing. So leading with value. So if you can make that connection for them, then now they're going to be eyes wide open and start to look at what other options they might have. And then the last thing here is removing friction. So we help injury victims understand their rights before they sign anything. No pressure, no upfront cost, just answers. So removing as much friction as possible. And not saying you have to sign a case or, whatever. Just no pressure, no upfront cost. Just get on the phone with us. Now, another example here of some good copy is calling out the injuries specifically. So letting the creative filter out the audience for you. So this is a little bit different of one. This is calling out a specific injury right at the top in red, draws a ton of attention to it. So we call this the dog whistle effect. So by shouting spinal cord damage, you repel fender benders and attract only high value cases. Now, obviously, are people that are lower value cases still going to slip through the cracks? Of course. But the point here is to try to make it so that the creative itself is a filtering mechanism rather than it just only being your form. Additionally, this trains the algorithm. When serious injury victims click this, Meta's AI learns to find more people with similar browsing behaviors. And it's also direct and unapologetic. No, have you been injured? It goes straight to the point with a specific problem. Are you having medical bills piling up? And there's a lot of variations that you could do of this. Have you been off of work for an extended period of time? Whatever it is. So when it gets to the call to action, this is going to be the specific button or, the end of the copy that you might have. We like to stay away from call us today. It's just a little bit too pushy. It's high friction. Learn more is a little bit too vague. Free consultation, again, everybody kind of says that. So we want to reduce the amount of call to actions that are vague or pushy. Now, a good call to action is low friction and it's high clarity. See if you have a case, check claim value, get answers first, message us, no cost. So these are all low friction, they're outcome focused, and they're empowering. Now, obviously, I'm going to get questions on like, hey, is this compliant? Whatever, obviously do your own research. But, the way that we see it is if we say, hey, check the claim value, if they're able to talk directly to you as an attorney, then obviously they would be able to get some idea of what that would look like. Or if you have data to back it up on cases that you've had that are similar, obviously you can kind of navigate that how you see fit. Another example here is Good Hook of the local urgency. So basically with this ad, if we just kind of break it down, number one, you can see it's the state of Texas. Great. If you're in Texas, this is immediately going to resonate with you. If you're in Kansas or if you're in New York City, this doesn't mean anything to you. So we're calling out this state specifically. Additionally, we're saying attention Texans in red, bold, first thing they see at the top. So that's an identity-based hook. It forces a mental, yes, that's me response, and it stops the scroll because it feels personal, not generic. So that's the first line. The second line is agitating an issue, a problem that they're having. So tired of waiting. It speaks to most likely their number one pain of accident victims, the insurance delays, the not knowing what the next step is, and a lot of the frustration that they end up dealing with. So if we could speak to them to their issues and the problems that they're having more clearly than they would be able to articulate it, the more likely they are to believe that we have the solution. So we want to be very clear in the things that we're saying. We're not just saying, "Are you frustrated with your situation?" We're saying, "Are you tired of waiting?" Specific. Next is going to be visual authority. The map isn't just decoration; it signals we are here, we know your laws, and we are fighting for your neighbors already. So what ends up happening whenever you do this, whenever you add all of this together? So you've seen a few good examples. The same budget, two different results. Creative is the single biggest lever for campaign for performance. So when we look at all of the bad creative sections, you're going to see that this just leads to high cost per lead and lower quality people. When you have really good creative and you add all these things together, you get a lower cost per lead with higher intent. Now, people have seen the TV spot ads forever, and they always look like an ad, and this just ends up getting ignored entirely. This requires sound to understand and the "we fight for you" cliches with high production costs. What instead you should be doing, if you're going to record video, and we're not going to show any here because we don't want, obviously, everybody to see our clients, and we haven't gotten permission to do that. So we're just going to explain it. The social video is authentic, raw, and helpful. So talking head, 9x16 verticals, so just recording like this as opposed to this. And then adding captions so that way they could see what you're saying and not necessarily have to only listen to it. And the point of this is to make it feel really raw. It shouldn't be something that's like on a tripod, stationary. It should be handheld, recorded, face to camera, basically like you're on a FaceTime call or something with your friends or family. Now, one of the things that's really important is obviously you have the compliance from a law end of things. So again, do your own research. These are just things that we do, but not necessarily things that you should do. But it's also important to stay compliant from Meta's rules because Meta has their own set of rules that you also have to abide by. So some of the things that you should do is you should have question-based framing. So ask if they experienced an event rather than asserting that they did. Possibility versus guarantee. Focus on what they might be entitled to. Safe imagery. So use suggestive imagery like a damaged car, hospital hallway without gore or anything too crazy. Like just don't be crazy. What you shouldn't do is say personal attributes. And this is the you rule. This is what we call it. It's basically just never imply that they specifically have had these situations. So if you're saying you too many times, Meta doesn't like that and they might ban your account. Also unrealistic claims. So overpromising specific dollar amounts, outcomes, etc. Don't do it. Meta doesn't like it. And then also shock value. So graphic photos, injuries, or anything like that can get your ad account banned immediately. So before you launch, here's a quick 10 criteria checklist for you to run through. You can screenshot this, grab it, run through it. Number one, the hook addresses their pain, not your firm name. 2, copy uses plain English, no legal jargon. What you want to do is you want to make it so that your writing, the way that you are doing the copy, is at like a 3rd to maybe 5th grade reading level, no higher. The call to action is soft and outcome focused. 4th, the ad links to a dedicated landing page. Now, I recorded a separate video that talks all about how to set up your ads. We did it on Instant Forms, but in my experience, having a dedicated landing page is a little bit better for filtering out low quality leads. Also, compliance reviewed, so no prohibited attributes specifically from the Meta ad end of things. 5 is going to be the visuals are authentic, so no stock photos. 6 is lead with empathy, not credentials. So speak to their situation, speak to their pains. 7, videos have captions for silent viewing. Not everybody's going to view it silently, but maybe they're, I don't know, at a Starbucks or something, or whatever the situation is. You want to increase the amount of comprehension people have. And so if they could consume the information visually as well as audibly, then they're going to have a higher chance of understanding what the heck is going on. Number 9 is going to be speaking to a specific injury or situation. That just gives Meta more data, more ability to figure out who exactly you're going after. And then additionally, adding a lot of variations. You shouldn't just have, a couple ads. You should have a lot of ads, a lot of variations. So if we go back to this ad right over here, spinal cord damage, you could say, let me think. Spinal cord damage, broken leg, broken hand, concussion from a car accident. So you can see that I'm specifically trying to not use the word you for that specific attribute. So just try to avoid that. But you could go through and mix and match that a million different ways, however you want. So that's it. If you have any questions, let me know. And at the end of the day, we just want to stop competing on budget, dollar amounts. I mean, a lot of these, big law firms, the Morgan and Morgans of the world, they have a gazillion dollars. You can't really compete with that. Maybe you can. I can't, at least at this stage. And so we want to start competing on creative. That's where we're going to be able to get the biggest arbitrage of value. So empathy over credentials, authenticity over polish, like with this video. I'm just recording it on a quick loom. I'm not polishing it up and making it all beautiful. And remember, creative does the targeting. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments down below.